music's something that's been with me, I mean, really as long as I can remember. When I was 3 or 4, my mum told me I was... Actually, I can even remember this, picking out tunes on the piano, like with one finger right up at the top of the keyboard. And there was something about the piano that I was really, really drawn to. I would get up at... I never slept much as a kid, and I would wake up at 4:30 and go down and start playing the piano. My poor dad would come down, bleary-eyed, and eventually they put a note on the piano saying, please don't play before 7:30, and it was so frustrating, these hours before I got to play. I don't know why it was like that, but just seemed something very, very natural and something that I really loved. So I kind of had the voracious attraction to it. As a musician, one always gets asked, what's your favourite piece of music, your favourite composer? And it's a very difficult thing to pin down because it probably depends on your mood. You know, you don't always want to eat steak, sometimes you want to have pasta or whatever. There are certain things throughout my life that have been constant so far. Beethoven, certainly, as a composer, I was attracted to quite young, and I've remained that very, very strongly, I don't know what the word is, impressed partly, but there's something I love so much about his approach to music, which is a kind of embracing of all conflicts. He doesn't shy away from anything. Somehow in his music it's the most incredible. This is like a kind of moral courage in a strange way, just how he deals with things absolutely head on and sort of forges these forms out of the most profound pressure, and yet somehow this incredible thing emerges from that conflict. And we know that his process of composing was very, very tortuous, very difficult to work with these tiny little motives and just rework them, and sometimes they would go through, I don't know how many transformations till the final thing's nothing like what he started with, but he just somehow knew at the start there was something in those little motives. So Beethoven is somebody that means a lot to me, but there's a lot of other composers, Rachmaninoff certainly, just for the emotional openness of it. Messiaen, it's just, I don't know, it's an astonishing sound world. Ravel. Again, actually, Ravel's a composer, when I was relatively young, I was very attracted to. Particularly in my teenage years, I listened to everything I could find of Ravel's. I find there's something in the emotional world of that is so deeply touching. It's an innocence and yet a nostalgia. I really deeply love his music. But then gradually as I got older, when I was at college I did a lot of Beethoven, Schubert, Mozart, and then later on I started doing a lot more romantic music. So in terms of a shift, that's the main thing that's shifted, over the years. Well, it's hard to pick out a most memorable recital. I mean, there's actually two that I think of, and they were both at the Wigmore Hall. One of them was doing, I can't remember, I think it was Beethoven Waldstein, and the second half was some of the Liszt Harmonie Poétique Religieuse, and the last of those that I did was Benediction de Dieu, which is a sort of profoundly beautiful, and in the end, like the most profound calm. And I just remember somehow getting very deeply into it in a way that I don't normally. I mean, I always enjoy performing, but sometimes something happens that you don't expect. And I remember that I couldn't sleep until 4 in the morning or something that night because I was so, I don't know, obviously disturbed by it. But it was an amazing experience. And the other one at Wigmore was playing the Messiaen Fine Regard. And that was the only time I think I've played when somehow I knew I couldn't hit a wrong note if I even tried. Halfway through the thing, and it's a very hard piece, but somehow halfway through I felt so totally comfortable that I just sort of basically sat back, relaxed, and just had the most marvellous time. And it's maybe not an accident both those were at the Wigmore, because it's a place that's very dear to me. Piano sounds as a whole don't stand out in my mind. I remember a recital by Lars Vogt once, where he did, actually that was an extremely memorable concert. He did pictures of an exhibition and Beethoven Opus 111 Sonata. Something else, I don't remember what that was, but I remember the Beethoven. Actually, the Mussorgsky too, but particularly the Beethoven was just, I felt myself totally opened up by it. And then when I went to practice in the days following that, I remember feeling so free. There was just something, I don't know what it was. We're good friends, and whenever I hear him play, I hear the same sort of deep, deep love of music and musical intelligence. And so that was very memorable. The concert that really stands out most was hearing Yevgeny Svetlanov conduct the Philharmonia and Rachmaninoff's Second Symphony, and that I'll never forget. That was the most transcendental musical experience of my life. When I started recording, I remember finding myself feeling under a lot of pressure, to create this sort of perfect document of what you can do. And so it was a very constraining kind of thing. I didn't feel free to experiment. And it's not, I think the early recordings were bad particularly, but I think it lacked a lot of stuff that could have been there. Because in concerts, you don't have to worry about the odd thing going wrong. People don't notice, and when they do notice, they don't care. Who cares about a few wrong notes? But it's funny how you can get self-conscious as a performer. But certainly recording, you might be doing a really nice take, and then you get one wrong, and you think, damn it, But how can I keep that magic? But gradually over the years, I just find myself enjoying recording more and more, and it's partly letting go of that feeling that you have to make this perfect document, because I quite quickly realised that you record the stuff and it takes a few months until you get the edit back from the producer. And by that time, you've grown up by 4 or 5 months. And even that amount of time, your ideas have changed. And you listen and think, why did I do that? So even if you perfectly did what you wanted in the session, then you wouldn't be happy. But actually much more than that, I started to realise that the only things that are, not the only things, but the things that are most worthwhile are the things that you don't plan. The things that just happen spontaneously. Those are the things that really connect to people, because it comes from this deeply spontaneous thing. Like me talking now, if I was to have planned what I was going to say, my body language would be different, my tone of voice would be different, it would be stilted in a way that it's not now. And that's the whole point, is how you connect to people listening. But I find it for myself, when I listen back, I'm much more connected to the things I've done that have been spontaneous. I mean, there is nothing like a performance where you have this sense of direct interaction with an audience, when you can hear their attention, hopefully, in the silence. And sometimes you hear performers complaining about people coughing, but somehow I feel like it's the performer's job to create the atmosphere where actually people don't cough. Because generally I find if I feel really engaged and enjoying playing, people are generally pretty silent. And if I'm not having the best night, then people tend to cough. So I think, well, there you have it. Well, it's a beautiful instrument. I've only played it for about 30 minutes, but it's a very even action, feels really nice. And the finger has a beautiful sound, quite a wide palette of colours. I mean, those are all the things you look for in a piano, really, so I'm looking forward to the concert.